Good day. At this point, you should have this worksheet in front of you. It looks exactly the same as mine, and you should follow me along as we go through 1 through number 10, number 1 through number 10. And then, once we've gone over all these 10, I'm going to have you try and finish the bottom part by yourself. The top part here is review, so these 4 questions are a little bit of review from last class. This is a little bit of new learning because there's fractions in there, and I know you don't like fractions, but they're super doable. And then the last part is I want you to practice some of these multiple step things. I'm going to help you with these 2, and then you'll have to do the rest on your own. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to zoom in so that we can see each other a little bit better. And we'll just do these first 4 problems together. So when I see a problem like m plus 12 equals 10, I know that it's something plus 12 equals 10. So what's that something got to be? We could guess or check, but last time in class we talked about how to undo stuff. So we're going to undo the plus 12 by taking those 12 away from there and taking 12 away from there. And that's like taking 12 blocks off of each side of the balance beam. So that's going to be left with 12 because those cancel out. The equal sign, and then 10 minus 12 is negative 2. So m equals negative 2. So that's when we have addition. And then when we have subtraction, I'm noticing that there's nothing over on this side of the equal sign. So the equal sign is kind of a big divider. I have nothing over here in terms of a variable, but I have a bag or a g plus or minus something. So to undo minus, we add to both sides. So add 9 to both sides of the equation. Negative 2, so starting at a number line, negative 2 plus 9 is positive 7, positive 7 equals the negative 9 and positive 9 cancel out, and equals g. So g has the same value as 7, and we can check that because if I think of g being 7, 7 minus 9 is negative 2. Oh great, that also works out. When we run into problems with multiplication, negative 7 times some number, is negative 91. So how many sets of negative 7? Well, we can undo multiplication with division. So undo that times 7 by dividing by negative 7. So we're just dividing by the same number, just the number part that's in front, dividing by negative 7. And I'm going to go ahead and use a calculator for this. Negative 91 divided by negative 7, y is going to be positive 13. And again, I can check that. If I think 13 is y, and y times negative 7, what is negative 7 times 13 going to be? And I should check and see that it's negative 91. We start getting into fractions over here, but I don't want you to get too scared of it because all it's saying is if I have something put into 9 groups, each group is going to have about 4 or negative 4 of them. So something divided by 9 is negative 4. And it looks like a fraction, but it's really division. Something divided by 9 is negative 4. To undo that, we're going to multiply both sides by 9. So 9 times a over 9. Multiply both sides by 9. Well, a 9 on the top of the fraction and the bottom of the fraction cancel out. And a is left over. And then in a calculator, you can even do this in a calculator. Negative 4 times 9 ends up being negative 36. Negative 36. And I think in my answer key that I have posted online, it's wrong. But negative 36, because negative times positive 9 is negative 36. All right, so we're going to jump down to this next section where we have fractions. Now, fractions look a little bit scary, but don't worry too much because there's a really easy way of undoing them. So if we kind of mix together problems 3 and 4, if I'm multiplying by something, I divide, and if I'm dividing by something, I multiply. Well, this is just a multiplication problem and division problem all wrapped up into one, and that's what a fraction helps us do. It helps us do multiplication and division both at the same time. And the trick is, if I want to get rid of the times 2, because this is really 2 times x, well, how do I undo times 2? I divide by 2. So I'm going to create a fraction where I'm going to divide by 2. Well, how do I undo divide by 3? I multiply by 3. So if I just multiply, and you can kind of see that this is the flip, like 3 over 2 and 2 over 3 is just kind of the flip of one another. We call that a reciprocal. They're the reciprocal of one another. And whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So if I multiplied by 3, I got to multiply the other side by 3. If I divided by 2, I have to divide by 2. So those cancel out. Those cancel out. I'm left with just an x. Now how do I get this right-hand side? Well, it's really saying 10 times 3 divided by 2. So 10 times 3 is 30 divided by 2. Well, what's 30 divided by 2? We know that's 15. So my answer is 15. I'm going to go through the rest of these a little bit faster because I know that you want to just kind of get all of these notes down and go. So 4 divided by 9 times w. To undo the fraction, I multiply by the upside down version. That's like multiplying by 9 and dividing by 4. It's like multiplying by 9 and then dividing by 4. And so those cancel out. I'm left with w. Negative 8 times 9 is the same as negative 72 divided by 4. Maybe I'll scoot this over just a little bit. Negative 72 divided by 4. Negative 72 divided by 4 ends up being 18. So we can start to use a calculator. If you don't have a calculator on hand when you start to practice this, please grab one. Even with negatives it works. So this is not a minus. This is not a minus 6 over 5. It's a negative 6 over 5 times that k. So if I'm going to multiply it out, I've got to multiply by 5 and divide by negative 6. So we're going to multiply by 5 and divide by negative 6. So 12 times 5, what does this end up being? 12 times 5, so those cancel out. 12 times 5 divided by 6, looks like my k. 12 times 5 divided by 6, I put that into the calculator, and I get negative 10. Negative 10. So if I were to put negative 10 back into this, negative 10 times negative 6 over 5 ends up being 12, and we can check that with a calculator. And then the last fraction and the one that we're going to do together is negative 1/2 times m, some number, equals 9. Well, we know it's probably like 18 divided by 2 is, so it's kind of like multiplying by negative 1 and dividing by 2. So multiplying by 2 undoes that 2 part, and then dividing by negative 1 undoes that negative 1 part. The negatives cancel, those cancel, but I got to do the same thing. So times 2 divided by negative 1 equals 9 times, negative 9 times 2 is negative 18 divided by negative. So this ends up being just 18. Okay, so we've gone through 8 problems so far. We're going to go through 2 more, and then you're going to go attempt this on your own. And when you come back, we'll go over it. So we're going to do 9 and 10 together because they look a little tricky. But check it out. All it is multiplication and addition together. So there's this 6 times something plus 8. And I sometimes like to think if the order of operations is supposed to be PEMDAS, parentheses, exponents, multiplication or division, addition or subtraction, I'm going to just do PEMDAS in the opposite direction to undo each thing. So if I'm thinking about 6 times, if it's supposed to be 6 times 8 plus, 6 times x plus 8. If I'm going PEMDAS backwards, I have to undo the addition or subtraction first. So if I'm going to undo the addition or subtraction, first thing I'm going to do is undo this plus 8. Undo this plus 8. And so I've got 6x, the 8 and negative 8 make 0, and 50 minus 8 ends up being 42 Oh, and then this becomes a one-step problem now, because if I'm going backwards in my PEMDAS, I've undone addition or subtraction. Now I'm going to undo multiplication or division. I'm going to divide by 6. Divide by 6. And those cancel out. 42 equals 7. 42 divided by 6 equals 7. And so my answer is 7. And I can go back if I really want to and check that 6 times 7... Yep, that's 42. 42 plus 8 is 50. Great, it works out. We're going to do number 9 and 10 together. We're going to do 10 together using PEMDAS backwards, the same idea. If I'm undoing addition or subtraction first, I've got to add 5 to both sides. 2x. 2 times the number is 16. Divided by 2, divided by 2. My number is 8. So if I think 2 times 8 is 16, 16 minus 5 is 11. Yep, that works. So I want the guest teacher to please pause the video in just a second. Please pause the video, and I want you to try, and I think it should take you less than 5 minutes to do these next few problems based on the work that we've done together. Once you've had enough time, or once most of the class is finished with this, we're going to resume the video, and I want you to show me that you have done it, and check your work as you go, so you can check all of your answers with us here in just a minute. Alright, at this point you should have had some time to do each of these problems, so we're going to go through them relatively quickly. I'm thinking about doing PEMDAS backwards, so I have to undo addition or subtraction first. So minus 9, I get all of that. 13 minus 9 is 4. I'm left with negative 4x. How do I undo multiplication? I divide by negative 4, divide by negative 4, and then we get 4 divided by negative 4 is 1, negative 1 equals x. So my x is negative 1. If I'm thinking about doing this next problem, it's a little tricky because it's hard to see what the addition thing is. But what we could do, I suppose, and let's just see if anybody did this, is we could add add the 3x back to both sides. Do that. Add 3x to both sides. And we can't combine terms because 34 and 3x don't work, so 7 equals 34 plus 3x. And then I suppose that I could subtract 34 minus 34. So 7 minus 34 is negative 27 equals 3 times x. Oh my gosh. We're going to finish that up here, divide both sides by 3, so negative 9 equals x. And maybe you did it a different way, and that's totally okay. That's totally okay. But x should be negative 9, and who knows. Next guy, we're going to undo addition and subtraction first, so add 7. So x divided by 2, the 7's go away, equals, that equal sign just comes straight down, equals 9 plus 7, which is 16. Undo the division problem, x divided by 2. All right, undo division, I multiply. Undo division, multiply. So those cancel out. X equals 32. So keep going. Undo addition or subtraction first. So undo subtraction. Undo the addition, so minus 8, 11 minus 8 is 3, so 3 equals some number divided by negative 5. Undo the divide by negative 5 part, times negative 5, times negative 5, so this is negative 15 equals x. Alright, undo subtraction first, minus 22, I'm left with 3/5 x equals, those cancel out, 28 minus 22 is 6. Undo that fraction. Remember, we multiply by the flip, so multiply by the reciprocal. 5 times 5, divide by 3. Cancel, cancel. Times 5, divide by 3. X equals 6 times 5, 30, divided by 3 is 10. And last but not least, we'll do this last one. We'll get it in blue here. So minus 1, minus 1. I've got negative 1/3 x equals negative 7 minus 1, so negative 8. Undo this fraction. I'm going to multiply by the flip. So multiply by 3, divide by negative 1. Multiply by 3, divide by negative 1. Those cancel. X equals 8 times, negative 8 times 3 is 24. 24 divided, negative 24 divided by negative 1 is 24. So hopefully this video was supporting you in your learning and that you got these answers and can make sense of them. When you're done with this, there are some other activities that are directed by our guest teacher today. Thank you so much. I am expecting to get a great report when I get back. Sorry that I was absent. It was kind of a last minute thing. See you next class. I'll be here next class. Goodbye.